Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelly, and I'll be the host of today's webinar, The Tour de Force Difference, the Introduction to CRM and BI Solution. Today's session will be recorded and sent to all attendees, so feel free to share it with your colleagues. If you have any questions during the presentation, please enter them in the question and answer panel below, and we'll get to those at the very end. Today's presenter is Ryan Elliott, Senior Application Engineer here at Tour de Force. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan for the presentation.
Thank you, Kelly. So as Kelly mentioned, my name is Ryan Elliott, Senior Application Engineer here at Tour de Force. And today we are going to go through Tour de Force, and we're going to talk about a couple different things. I want to level set with the agenda for today. So we're going to talk about what sets Tour de Force apart from other CRM and BI solutions in the market. We're going to discuss the flexibility and extensibility, if you will, of Tour de Force and what it can do for you. And then we'll demonstrate Tour de Force through two different user interfaces. We'll talk about it from a desktop perspective with the Outlook toolbar, and we'll also talk about it from Tour de Force Web and what you can do from a web-enabled device such as a phone or a tablet. So that's really the agenda for today. As Kelly mentioned, if you've got questions as we go through the presentation, please put those in the Q&A panel, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. And today, really, we're going to be high level. We won't get into great detail, but if you do have questions and want a deep dive, we can certainly talk about that at the end of the session today. So with that, what makes Tour de Force different? Why would you choose to go with and use the Tour de Force suite of products? And that's something that a lot of people ask me because I do a lot of demos and I do a lot of discussions with prospects, and quite frankly, it's a great question. And the way I typically answer that is with Tour de Force, you're getting more than just a software transaction. You know, we're not selling you software and walking away. You're getting a partner that delivers a solution to you. And by doing that, what we provide you is a number of different things. Our expertise in wholesale distribution manufacturing. That's something we spent a lot of years in. We have a lot of expertise in. Our consultants combined the knowledge in that industry is right around 40 to 50 years worth of combined knowledge in that industry. Implementation plans for every customer designed around their business process. If they don't have one, we'll even help design that. One of the things that we offer is a roadmap implementation that allows us to help design out a business process for a customer. You may not have that in the sales funnel process that you have today, or you may not even have a sales funnel at all. Maybe you do things off the cuff and you need a little bit of structure around that. That is something we can absolutely help with. Direct integration to your ERP system, that is absolutely something that you're going to hear me talk about today, and the data that we're going to look at in regards to information that you can provide to your sales team and to your sales force, to your management folks, that is crucial to their daily routine. Typically takes someone or a team of people a lot of time to collect and get, because let's face it, most ERP systems just don't have great reporting. And that's something that you'll see today in the system. And then ultimately just delivering more than you expect from a typical CRM system. And that's something that, you know, there is no real typical CRM anymore. And I say that not from the standpoint that I'm redefining what CRM is, but from the standpoint that everybody has a different definition of what CRM. What's customer relationship management? Is it customer retention? Is it prospecting? Is it the ability to set your appointments? Is it the ability to automate your sales process with quoting? And there's a lot of different definitions of what true CRM can be. And ultimately what we want to do is make sure that you understand that what you can do with our system is more than you would expect from just a basic contact management system. So that's what we'll look at today. That's what we'll talk about. That's what you'll hear me discuss in regards to the Tour de Force solution. And we'll go through that in great detail if we can. One of the main factors that comes into play with a product like Tour de Force and a solution like ours is user adoption. And that is something that we talk about, we discuss, we find ways to make better with every customer that we work with. You know, how do I get people to use the system? Yes, we need it. We need CRM. That's something we need to put in place. And the first question is going to be, okay, does your executive team buy into that? Do they understand what you need? Do they understand why you need it? A lot of times people have discussions about what they need, and then they get to the management level and they talk about it with their executives and they find out, well, that's not what I thought we were going to do. You know, those are some things that you need to have that congruency and that buy-in before things are going to be successful. We can help with that process, help understanding what the ROI is for a solution like Tour de Force, help understanding how it can be ingrained in your business process. The ease of use, the ability to get to information, the ability to have access to information that's super critical to your business process. That's something that Tour de Force can provide. being able to create value for all of the sales reps, the management staff, the branch managers, the regional managers, the folks that are in the field. Everybody that's going to have access to tour de force is going to gain value from it. Proven implementation methodologies, we've talked about that already. That's something we reiterate here because ultimately that does help user adoption. If you go to another company and buy the software and then get passed off to a third-party implementation company and they don't really know what you need and they're just setting up the software, what value is there in that to you? And that's something that Tour de Force does very well with our implementation plans, is we provide value to your team. We provide insight. We provide best practices. And that's how the right resources being involved comes into play as well, because we don't just give you an implementation team that only specializes in say the ability to pull sales data and not to be able to help you with a sales process, or to help you with a sales process but we have no idea what data you want. We give you a full team that helps you with that process up and down the spectrum of being able to set the system up appropriately, get the correct data from the integration, provide you with the best training for your sales reps. And honestly, with a lot of our companies, there's even executive sponsorship that we offer from our staff to be able to be a voice or an ear or for those folks that have questions. So again, user adoption is super critical and something that we definitely want to discuss in terms of how Tour de Force can help with that process. Now, I mentioned integration, and that is something I want to talk about because ultimately the ERP system is where all of the lifeblood is for the sales data that we put into Tour de Force. And the data that comes from the ERP system is going to be typically invoices, quotes, orders, notes, invoice lines, contacts, accounts, and inventory. Those are the standard queries that we have for over 47 different ERPs. So if you look at our website, there's a list of ERPs that we've already integrated to, that we already have a connection to, that we have the capabilities of pulling data from. Now, it doesn't mean that if your name or your ERP is not on the list that we can't pull data from your system. That happens quite often. And really what it is just a little bit extra time in the implementation for us to pull the data. And not just pull it one for one where we're doing, plug and play or a copy of the numbers. We're doing calculated values. We're doing product manager rules. We're splitting orders up for you. We're doing product modifiers. There's a lot of different things that we do with the data to provide you with information that's going to be crucial to what you're doing every day. And that's something that we really want to reiterate. In our world, CRM encompasses the sales data. Now, that's a part of the process. That's a part of the standard routine. There's other places we can integrate to as well. Third-party systems, construction bid boards, phone systems, the ability to pull from like a UPS worldwide ship and put information onto an order. Those are all different spectrums of what we can pull with our connector and put into Tour de Force so that you're not having to have islands or silos of data that you have to go look for. And that's again, something I want to stress in user adoption. If I don't have to go to 5 places as a user, you think about that from an outside sales perspective, and you're traveling, you're in your car. Well, shoot, I got to go get in the ERP to look up this quote. Well, poop, I got to go look at this contact in my phone, and I got to go back and forth on all these different things to find the data. They're less efficient and less likely to be able to follow up on everything they need to follow up on. And that's something that Tour de Force does. It gives you one-stop shopping, one place to get to your sales information, your quotes, your orders, your invoices, your commission dollars, everything that you would want to know as a sales rep is going to be available to you in that system. So again, the integration is a huge part of that. With some of the ERPs that we work with, the top, what I would say tier 1 ERPs, we have the ability for two-way processing at the quote level, and we have the ability for two-way processing at the contact level. So quote gives us the flexibility of getting customer pricing in real time with Tour de Force's Quote Manager, the ability to create documents and send things out to a customer, and then ultimately to be able to push that back into your ERP as a quote or as an order so that it can be fully processed with the packing slips and picking list and everything else that the ERP needs to do. And then ultimately a two-way contact sync. And also, I'll be honest, it really is a 3-way contact sync when you add Outlook or Google in that. What we can do is actually keep everything in line, and Tour de Force becomes the central hub now for all of your contacts. So if you put a contact in Tour de Force, it'll automatically flow out to your ERP system, and it will flow out to your Outlook without you having to manually enter it twice. And I think there's a lot of value in that. You put it in one place, it has all the details, it spiders out to where it needs to go, and then you move on with the rest of your day and no big deal. So the nice part is we can provide you with those easy access and easy to use tools that make your life much, much, much more simple on the road, especially when you're traveling or in the office when you're needing to do something quickly. And with that, I like to spend most of my time in the demos. You'll probably never see me go past about 10 minutes on slides. To be honest, I much prefer to do live demonstrations. So we're going to talk about tour de force today in two flavors. And as Kelly mentioned earlier, if you've got questions, go ahead and put those in the Q&A panel, and we'll get to that at the end of the session today. We're going to talk about tour de force desktop. We're going to talk about tour de force web. And tour de force web is where we're going to start, because really that's where most outside sales teams are going to use tour de force. From your phone, from your tablet, from your device that has internet access. And it's fully responsive HTML5 design, allows you to use it from anywhere. So I can use this from a tablet, a phone. It automatically resizes. I don't have to do anything special. I don't have to download 5 different apps from my 5 different devices. I simply go to the browser. I type my address, in this case, mobiledemo.tdfsolution.com, and I can access the information that I need to see. Now, the data that's in here is going to be related to what I have rights to. And we create rights typically based on how the data is set up in your ERP. So we have the ability to structure our system similar, if not the exact same, as how your ERP might be structured. You may have regions, branch responsibilities, sales reps or territories, and ultimately those are assigned to the account or to the contact or even to the bill to and ship to combination, however you've got it set up in your ERP. And we can pull that data into tour de force in the same structure. This allows you to easily set up permissions within our system where you can delegate the ability to create contacts but not delete them, or you can create accounts but not update the sales information, or whatever the case is. You can set up permissions so that you're not able to do things, or you are able to do things based on what you want the users to have access. You can make it super simple for them and say, here's your list of accounts, here's all you have access to, here's the 5 things you can do. Or you can make it complicated for them if they need it, to where they can generate quotes, they can generate support items, they can do all the different things that tour de force offers, and that's something that you can open up or close off depending on what permissions you want to provide to them. We can also accommodate what we call product manager rules. This is the flexibility of creating a specified salesman ID based on a group of product groups, based on a vendor ID set, based on byline, whatever the case is, and we can generate that list and automatically show you sales data based on that information so that you have specific info to provide to your product managers. Now, when I logged in as an admin intentionally, and I do that for the sake of the demo so that we can go look at the realm of the possible with tour de force and what it is that we can provide and the different things you can do. And when I look at this, I see I've got my daily summary, so I can look at daily, weekly, and monthly, and it's going to show me information. I can look at the views in a grid where I can look at all my activities that are in the system. I could look at all of my appointments that are in the system, and it gives me quick access to the details. So if I want to open up an appointment, say the one from today, I can certainly do that, and the details are going to automatically be there just like they would be in Outlook. So when you create an appointment in tour de force, it automatically pushes to your Outlook calendar. Now, generally, I get a question in demos when we do one-on-one demos in regards to that. Well, does it pull everything from my Outlook calendar? And the short answer is no. And that's intentional. We automatically push to your calendar based on if you want us to, but we do not pull everything from your calendar, especially if you've got things that, they're not private, but they're not really work related. So, I've got to pick my daughter up from gymnastics, or I've got kids' ball games, or, wife's got a class she's teaching tonight, or whatever. That information is stuff that you want to have in your calendar, not necessarily in your business calendar in tour de force. And we have the flexibility of linking those if you want to, but if you don't, you just want to keep those segregated, you certainly can. And tour de force can become the central location for your business calendar for all your appointments. So that is something that we can do and that we can provide out of the box. So that is absolutely something that's available to you. Now, one of the things that we also take advantage of in our mobile application is the ability to use the device to your advantage. So if you have talk to text, on your phone, so if you're using a smartphone, an iPhone, something like that, talk to text is absolutely something that you can use. The flexibility of the talk to text is very nice. You can use it through your car, you can use it through your phone, your tablet, and the nice part about that is also you can go in and have your things full screen. So if I'm doing talk to text in my notes, and now obviously I'm typing that and not doing talk to text, but that's what it would look like. You could type that out, you could talk it out, and the information would be there. And if I go to save that, save and close, if I open that appointment again, it would be there. Now, the nice part is with these appointments and the activities and the tasks, the information is also available on a calendar view, and it color codes it for you. So I can see that purple's activities, green's appointments, blue's tasks. All the information's available to you in this format to where I can even open things from here, or I can double click in here and even create something new, depending on what I want to create direct from that calendar. And you can do that within your device, or you can do that from your laptop. The nice part is when you create it and save it, automatically flows to your Outlook calendar. So tasks and appointments automatically flow over. Activities are just simply stored in Tour de Force, and those are the historical notes on what the interaction was with the customer. Now, when you look at this and you say, okay, well, that's great. You've got your list of appointments. How do I, I want to look at the account. I want to see what's going on. You can certainly do that by simply clicking on the account hyperlink. And this brings back the account details. So you've got your customer name, your address and phone number, all those different things. You've got a map functionality there that allows you to map out and figure out the best route to get to that customer with your directions. You've got phone access. You can be able to dial from there. You've got down at the bottom here some other things that might be important to you. Customer class, maybe something that doesn't exist in your ERP and you want to track that for marketing. Customer type goes right along with that. So depending on the class, you've got different types of customers. Are they a target account? Is it a key account? And these are all subjective pieces of information that ultimately you have control of during the implementation process and quite frankly after, because we will train your sales reps to have the flexibility and capability of going in and creating and modifying the way the screens lay out if they want, modifying how they function. So it might be what we call parent-child relationship with fields to where, hey, this field value controls the results in this field. We can do things like that. So there's a lot of things we can offer you flexibility-wise with the way the system's set up. Now, when you get into this and you say, okay, well, what about all the contacts related to that account? Can I see those? And the answer is absolutely. I can see those in a nice big view like this where I can pull up all the contacts on the linked items tab, or I could even go to the CRM details tab that's going to give me access to more than just contacts. It's going to give me access to contacts. It's going to give me access to activities, different options for what I want the layout to be. And I've got quite a few contacts on this one particular account. There's 42 of them. But all the details load up with those contacts as well. Maybe I want to look at some information about one of these accounts or even several. We have something called in our system a navigator that allows me to select 3 contacts and go up and actually load them in a navigator. And then as I'm looking at those details, I can close them one by one and I can close out the information so that I don't have to continue to look at them if I don't need them. So the nice part is it does give you the flexibility of using our navigator with the different records in the system. So that is something you can do as well. Maybe you want to see everything related to emails that have been logged for this account. Email logging is something that we do at the server level. It does not require the user to do anything special. You just simply send emails. We pick that up at the server level. We compare the email address to what's in the system. If it matches Tour de Force, then we copy it down in. It doesn't even have to be a Tour de Force user to have the emails logged in the system. So it could be an admin, accounts receivable person, could be accounts payable, and the information gets logged into Tour de Force at the appropriate account or contact based upon the email address. So hands off, you don't have to touch it. It automatically does it. Now, do you have to use that? No. A lot of people love to start with it and see how the email process goes and have historical records of those. You can also manually link an email. So lots of different options for how you can do it. Now, I mentioned the CRM details tab, and that's more of a tab that you would use probably from the office. And when we get into desktop, I'll show this again on the same account from the desktop perspective. But the nice part is you can see all the contacts, all the opportunities. I can still load up my the navigator with different pieces of information in it. So, if I scroll down, I've got access to details down here, like activities, like emails, and even, notes specific to that account. So I've got access to a true 360-degree view of the account, all from my mobile device. And that is something that's spectacular for sales reps that travel. Now they're not having to wait on emails. They're not having to make phone calls to the office. They're not having to go look for information. It's right there at their fingertips. And I've mentioned a lot about integration, and I've neglected to show you anything, and that was intentional, because ultimately you have the capability of using Tour de Force in a couple capacities for the sales information. Number one, you can use the easy button. And number two, you can use the sales data tab. Now, the easy button is for those folks that do not want to have to dig for any information and do not really give enough time to be able to do that throughout the day. They just don't provide themselves with enough time to analyze data. And that's okay. You have the button for that, and that provides you with a customer scorecard that looks a lot like this. This is the default customer scorecard that comes with Tour de Force out of the box. You've got sales information there in a charted format. You've got opportunities by sales stage. You've got top vendors, you've got product groups, you've got information that quite honestly is stuff that you would want to know about the account, but you may not have access to unless you call the office or jump on a VPN or do something like that. And let's face it, from the road, your reps don't have time to do that, nor do they want to do that. And that's something that we can help with. That is something that Tour de Force can ultimately be the resource and the piece of the puzzle that's missing that allows them to get access to the information that you currently have in your ERP. And I don't want to confuse this, because the information that you see on this screen that's calculated at growth levels, sales growth last year versus this year, runtime, rolling rates, open quotes, open orders, accounts receivable data, that is data that's in your ERP. That is not anything specific that we are creating, calculating, or doing that isn't stemming from data coming from your ERP. So there's nothing you have to put in Tour de Force for this data to show up. We simply provide it to you. The rolling 12, the run rates, those variances, those are things we calculate for you as well. Things that you don't have to manually calculate anymore, we do automatically. Pardon me, I'm getting a drink of water. And as you scroll down the screen, you'll see open orders, open quotes, top 15 item codes that you sold that are doing well, top 15 item codes that just quite frankly aren't selling anymore to that particular ship to and that particular customer. So we're providing you with the ability to see data at a granular level. However, if you want to roll this up and you only want, say, the top section of this report to load for a rep, we can do that. If they're graphical folks and they do not care about grid data to where they've got to look for it and look at grids and, man, that looks like Excel and that's too complicated for me, and all those different comments that you typically would get, then you can certainly provide them with just the analytics and the details in a graphical format. And that is a great way to do it, because it ultimately provides you with information that you are comfortable with, details that you are easily able to refer to later on. And those are all things that you can get back. So the nice part is it's your data, it's your abilities, and what you can what you can see. If you want to analyze it, and I typically would say this is folks that are in the office doing this, not necessarily on the road. You can go to the sales data tab at the account level, and you can load up the sales information across the board for all the sales. You can look at sales versus goal. You can look at quarterly sales information. You can look at details that are in here that are related to this account. And that's all levels of detail that you have access to. You can look at it at different capacities, total account roll up, but to date, by period, no goals. You can look at it that way, and you can even roll this up to an overall parent bill to level if need be. So you can look at the information however you see fit. You can look at open orders. You can drill into the open orders for that particular account. Not only can you look at the open orders, you can actually drill into the details if you want to look at the line items, provide you with the flexibility of looking at line items for that account as well. And that's all the information you have access to, again, is coming from your ERP. We just provide it to you in an easy to use manner so that when you're in the field, you can easily access it. You've got other different group summary capabilities, product group mixes, year over year, vendor summaries. There's a lot of different options for how you view the information. Ultimately, it comes down to the implementation process and what we vet with you and what we decide with you in regards to what data you want to see. And you tell us that. And that's the nice part about the information that we can provide you, is that it's a collaboration. This isn't a dictatorship where we come in and say, hey, this is all you get. This is the ability for you to decide, well, what's important to me? What are my key metrics? What are my KPIs? What are my measurables? Those are pieces of information that you can gather and then quite honestly look at in this fashion where you can go, you know what, I can see I've got to really have some conversations about these different parts that we're down in this year over last year. And I can have that conversation. I can export the list if I need to. I could even simply go out and go to my actions panel and create the appointment direct from the account and then copy in what the details are that I want to have in there for that particular appointment. So the nice part is we give you access to everything related to the account in one place, even the attachments. It could be documentation that's attached, could be schematics, could be images, could be whatever. That information is also visible at the account level. You can even send emails from here. If I load up the email button, I can go to I can select different drafts for my email. So there's a lot of flexibility that Tour de Force offers, especially for the reps that are traveling and on the road. And as we get into desktop here in a few minutes, it'll kind of solidify what it is that you have access to informationally. So Those are just a couple things that you can do from the account. Again, we got to that direct from the appointment list, and then we got to the account from there, and really within a couple clicks, you have access to everything you need to see. The results, of an appointment, we talked about that. That's typically going to be an activity. So if I open up an activity in here, you'll be able to see the information. So you can pick the activity type. What was it? An on-site visit. What was our product focus for the meeting? Motion controls and SureFlow pumps. Cost savings, flexibility. Yeah, we absolutely can save them quite a bit of money each year if they do what we ask them to. That's something. Ooh, I didn't hit OK. Pardon me. There you go. Click OK. You add value. Is there value add to this? Yes. Was it a joint call with a vendor? Certainly. Something along those lines. Now, what I can do then is same thing. Talk to text, copy my notes in, however I want to do it. We even have drafting capability in Tour de Force to where I can actually bring in information in a note setting, and I can go in and say, okay, go ahead and talk to text all my details now. And you can do it that way. And then you can go out and save the information. Ultimately, that activity will save, the details will save, and then someone in the office has access to it, you have access to it, and all the details are available to you if you were to open that again. So super easy to use. Calendar view, your action items, that's all the things you have access to out of the box. And then as you move down the screen here, you've got visualizations. This is something you can control as an admin based on permissions. However, it also allows the rep to have some control themselves. As a rep in the field, if I want to have a bar chart of my profit and margin, if I have access to margin, I can see my profit information, my sales information. That can be available to me in the field if I want to see it that way. And then I can set that as my default. So when I log in, that is what I see when I first log into my web device. We can also provide information up and down the spectrum. We talked about that in the slides. And if you wanted to have an admin or an owner, president that wants to have access to all the branch sales details very quickly on his device, you can do that with the alerts and notifications. Or if you wanted to see as a rep, what are the calls that are scheduled for this week, you could see that information. And the nice part is, I've got a call with ABEC, and I can see that they're, $90,000 that they're over budget, $90,000 that they owe us, and then what their growth is and what their sales totals are. And then getting down into the other details, I can look at it by rep. I can look at it by loser account. And the nice part is you can see the information in these mini reports. Let's be honest, that's what the alerts are. They're basically miniature reports. And it allows you to also be interactive. So if I want to look at the 10 largest open orders, and when that pops, I can decide, I want to look at that order. I can look at that order direct from my home screen and not ever have to leave it. Header details? Absolutely. I can certainly look at that. So the nice part with the way this is laid out is you're not married to and tied to specifically the alerts I have here. If you like those, fantastic. If you don't, part of the workshop with our business consultant would be to review those alerts and say, okay, what are the defaults that we need? What are the top 15? Maybe that's top 10. Maybe it's top 6. What are the things that we need to have in the alerts and notifications that are ultimately going to be valuable in an automated process and give me the information that I need to be successful? And you'll notice I said, give me the information that I need to be successful. That's what we're providing. That's the type of data that we're providing to your reps, is information that allows them to be successful. If you walk into a customer site and you see the open order list and you go, hey, Mr. Customer, I know you've got an open order. Looks like the release date of that order has been pushed back a week. You may not have known that, had we not mentioned that. So I want to make sure you knew that it's pushed back a week and this is why. There's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of value in knowing things ahead of time, or simply following up on quotes, having access to the amount of quotes, details that we have access to, simply just following up on a quote that's going to expire this week, or following up on a quote that was sent out, 3 weeks ago, and the customer hasn't responded yet. So those are all things that you can accomplish with the alerts and notifications, with the tour de force processes that will allow you to be more successful as a user and as a rep and overall with your company. Now, the alerts come in a number of different flavors, and it's something that you can set up yourself, and we will also teach that to you and help you set up as part of the implementation. That is a typical process that we go through in setting things up and making sure with you that it works the way you expect it to, and ultimately provides you with the exact information you're looking for. They can pretty much be designed around any piece of data coming into Tour de Force that you create and or we import through the connector. And that data, as long as we have access to it, can be used to filter, group by, pull date information for the filters, whatever. And now you can see it in a format that makes sense. The other format that we have for accessing data would be the Build Your Own Reports or our Advanced Report module. This is where I could run scorecards and dashboards across the board. Maybe I'm looking at a salesman level scorecard that quite honestly looks a whole lot like the sales rep, or the customer scorecard, and that's intentional. That's to keep things uniform. As I'm looking at this, I can see my top 15 accounts. I can see my opportunities. I can see product groups. I can see my mix of vendors that I've sold, maybe some commission values, rolling 6-month or 12-month analysis in comparison to sales goal, the ability to look at the rolling 6-month trend in a grid versus a chart, the ability to see declining and growth accounts. I mean, the results are endless in terms of what you can see. This is just the capability of saying, yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see, it's just the ability to see information that you would typically want to access. And that's something that we want to make sure that we provide as part of the implementation, because there's a lot of value in having access to information that you don't have to put in. Information that I did the work on the front end and somebody else created the order, but I don't have to manually go put anything in to access the information. That is absolutely something we want to focus on as part of the implementation, because not having to put data in the system is a great way to keep the user adoption high. To force people to put data in the system immediately and not give them any wisdom from the sales information or any detail, those are things that will absolutely hurt user adoption. And one of the things that we do to combat that is provide you information before we do any training. Here's what you have access to as a rep, and you haven't put a single shred of data in yet. So again, I'll get off my soapbox, but that is something that we do very different that a lot of people don't. A lot of people require that data is entered manually before you're going to get any KPIs or metrics. We can do that with the sales data out of the box as part of the implementation process. And then other access to reports. Again, I'm logged in as an admin, so I'd like to show you some things that are a little bit more high level, like an executive dashboard or a management scorecard that provide you with sales details that, quite frankly, you could get from an ERP, but you'd have to take it to Excel. You'd have to do a bunch of manual work. You'd have to export to Access. There's a lot of different things you'd have to do to get this, but it's built into Tour-de-Force and a part of the CRM process. Every day, if as a sales leader, you want to go in and look at your information, you can even have this emailed to you. One of the nice parts about our reporting is that it can be either manually run like this, or you can have them emailed to you. And if I get into this and look at the details, you've got accounts receivable balances, you've got inventory data, valuations up and down the spectrum there with product groups and items and vendors. You got order backlogs, the top accounts, and even sales details by rep by month. So you can see, overall, how are we doing? Same goes for sales planning, which is something we can do in the management scorecard here, where I've got a bunch of different sales planning options. This is where you can have access to top branches, reps, and accounts. You could see different sales plans related to that. What's my goal quarterly? What's my goal for year to date? All that information is available. You can see in Q1 we were 98% of goal. Q2 we were 90% of goal. Right now in Q3 we're 27% of goal, which probably isn't good because we're a little more, it might be close. It might be close. And that's the kind of stuff you can analyze. It's the kind of stuff you can see. And you get the sales branch, sales rep, and then ultimately top 15 accounts in there. But, you think about it from the process of understanding what kind of data you have access to. Truly, we can provide you with information that honestly would take someone a long time to produce, and we can do that out of the box as part of the implementation plan. All the reports I've shown you are standard reports that come with Tour-de-Force. So when you start using it, outside of maybe taking our logo off and swapping it for yours, this is going to be your information. This is going to be your details. Couple more things with Tour-de-Force Web, and then we'll jump into the desktop. I know we've got about 7-8 minutes left, maybe 10 minutes before we need to get to some questions. There's a global search functionality. The global search does allow me to look across everything in Tour-de-Force. We do have the capability of pulling in products into Tour-de-Force. So if I wanted to look for valves within the products and see just if I have any stock on those, I can do that, and it will be very quick. Then I can do secondary searches within my initial search. So if I want to look for the 120 over 60 valves, I can do that. It'll highlight it and tell me what I've got in the warehouse, how much I've got stock-wise, what's on hand, what's available. We can sync those products every 5 minutes with your ERP, every 10 minutes, whatever the time frame is you need. Recent items is a way to easily see the information that you did last. This is your memory, for lack of a better term. The ability to go in and see that and see the information. You can do that. You can create actions from here. You can open things up. The favorites is also another place where you can store information that you would like to see all the time. If I go into my favorites and I'm planning out my day and I say, these are all the accounts I always spend a lot of time with. ABEC is somebody I'm going to visit today, Bamcom, Baxter. We're going to go speak with Hexlux and Hymetics. Those are the 5 accounts I'm going to see. When I highlight all 5 of those, it opens it up in the Navigator, allowing me to truly navigate through each account, maybe look at the sales data tab on this account and then move to the next one, and then look at the sales data tab on the next account and then see what's going on, and then maybe go back and look at all sale. Just different ways to navigate through the product, allowing you to see information that you want to see, allowing you to plan out your day. Think about it from a sales rep's perspective. They're going out on the road. They've got 5 accounts they're going to see. They want to have all 5 of those loaded up with their sales information in them so they know what to talk about when they get there. Load their group summaries ahead of time. Flip over between those in the Navigator process going, hey, Mr. Customer, I see you're not buying these 3 products right now, and it looks like we got 1 open order for you that's overdue, and it looks like your accounts receivable balance is out by $50K. There's some things we need to work on as a group. We want to partner with you to make sure that you're still getting that. And that's a conversation that you cannot have unless you have this data in front of you. And that's something I want to stress, because you could have a conversation with a customer about how great the game was last night or how blue the sky is. But does that close an additional deal, or does that help your credibility with that customer when it comes to the next sale? And when you look at the data this way, where it's very laid out and knows that, it's exactly the way you really would look at it for a customer, that's the stuff you want to know before you walk in the door, because ultimately it's stuff that you're going to use to close a deal, or it's going to use to help facilitate an additional deal that you may have with that customer. So again, just different options for seeing the data and different ways to get access to the information. I'm going to close all these accounts. I got them all open still. And details you can see. So, Tour de Force Web is absolutely a great tool for the folks that are traveling. You can use it from any device. You can use it in the office if you really want to. But it's something that you can use at any level and any device. So that makes it very easy for the users and the reps to adopt. Now, with all that said, I know that's kind of a mouthful and a lot to review. I do want to talk about desktop for a few minutes in the Outlook toolbar, and then what you can do with the alerts and notifications in email format. So not only can you see things from a web device, you can also use Tour de Force from an Outlook toolbar perspective, and then ultimately from your desktop using what we call the Info Center, which really contains all the information that you need to know about your territory, or if you're a manager, about your company in regards to the data that you have brought in from your ERP, plus combining that with data that's put into Tour de Force directly. So when I'm in my Outlook toolbar, I can see information in the toolbar that's in the plugin that may affect what I'm doing in emails, but doesn't replace this bottom section, which is still Outlook. So I can see my alert here. It's something similar to what I have in web. I can get down and look at, say, open orders. I do have the ability to open this just like in web, and it would open that order with the details right there for me direct from an email. Super simple for the user. If I'm looking at an email from a customer, from a contact, and I look at this and I say, I can see it's logged in Tour de Force, so that means a contact exists. If I want to look at the account information, I can simply a single button push, load up the account, and then have access to the same and more detail than what I actually had access to on my web device. So not only can I load the account and see the contacts and see that information, the CRM details tab is just like it was on web. So you can share information and discuss with inside sales and outside sales together what's going on with your account base and what's happening with them and all the details related. All of that is available to you right here. You can do the same thing in the Navigator that you did in web. I can highlight 3 or 4 of those and say open a Navigator, and now I've got those 3 activities that I can cycle through and look at the notes on, or look at the details, or see what's going on and see that it was an activity generated from an appointment. This is what we talked about. These are the key items to take away. Those are all different things that you can do right here in the screen. The sales data tab is very similar. This is laid out just slightly different because we do give you drill-in capability in desktop that's slightly different from web today. Over time, that'll change, and web will be the exact same. But the nice part is today with desktop is I can go into any one of these pieces of data that are hyperlinked, or even on the plus sign, and I can drill into the details about that. So if I really want to drill into the details on this account and see what product groups are down, I can do that. If I want to drill into the product group and see which item code's down, I can flip that from vendor to item code, and now I can see specifically for which vendor, which item code for this account. Now again, go back to that. Which item code for which product group for this specific ship to is not selling well right now. And I can do that, and I can have different views for the loser items, and I can see what's going on. And now I can see that I need to have a conversation about static seat, rotate Rotary King and silicone with a customer because they're not buying it right now. We're 17 grand in the hole in these products, and they're not buying them right now. I need to figure out why. And you've got access to that information. You'd have the flexibility of running the reports just like you did in web. I can run the scorecards. If you did have images or screenshots, you could have a screenshot of their building if they got a new building and you don't know the directions and stuff like that, and you just need an image of it. You can do that. Same attachments are available just like in web. So realistically, it's a way to have the greatest indirect communication possible. And I say that because what you're doing is giving yourself the ability to see information. That could be related to emails, that could be related to contact. It's information that, yes, while having a conversation with an outside rep, you can get the same information. At the same time, can you get a hold of them? Does your schedule allow that? Can I just look at the open emails or the emails that came in? Or can I look at all the activities and see all the details of what a sales rep's done while they're on the road and see the most recent activity generated and what they talked about? The answer is absolutely. Absolutely provide you with that ability and capability of being able to see that information so you can go in and look at the details whenever you want. You can have access to details that are important to you. Now that's all direct from the toolbar and being able to open the account, or you can create action items. You could create and view information like emails direct from that as well. So not only can I open the account and look at it, or I can shortcut that and look at all the emails tied to that specific contact. You can do that too, where you can switch over and just say, hey, I'd like to view emails for this contact and see what's going on. And that's going to be information you're going to easily access from that toolbar. Now, I did mention the Info Center, and in the interest of time, I want to jump into that and talk about it. The Info Center is really the full application of Tour de Force on a desktop. There is something called the Info Center in web, and it really is very similar to this, where I can go in and load a grid of accounts or a grid of opportunities or a grid of activities and see everything that's going on in a specific territory and a branch overall as a company. And I can have different views for that information. So not only can I see it, but I can have different standard views, maybe a pipeline report related to all my opportunities. I can drill into the pipeline and I can see by sales stage what's going on. Maybe I only want to look at the ones that are in a certain sales stage. I want to look at the ones that are in the proposal stage. Based on those, I want to group it by close probability. So I want to see all the ones that are at a certain level. So I want the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I can do that. And then maybe I want to group it by account instead. Here's all the accounts, and I can expand that. Now I've got all the accounts. Or take the account out of that, and I said, you know what? I'd rather look at by rep. I can do that. Full expand. Now I can see by rep which ones are in the proposal stage. See, Kevin Smith's got the most that are 70% high in the proposal stage. And you can color code. You can see the late due dates. You've got plus when it's a positive in there with high, it's green. A lot of different things you can do with these to allow yourself to easily manage the process as well. So doing the process is one thing, absolutely something that we are fantastic at providing information for. Managing the process is also something that, I'll be honest, when you look at implementations and you look at processes, a lot of people overlook that. That is not something that our consultants overlook. We make sure that management also has a vested interest in the process. And it may not be opportunities, but it may be related to all the activities that the reps are going to be putting in the system. User adoption, going back and finding out how many reps are creating activities consistently. You could group that by rep. And maybe you only want to look at the activity types that are demos or on-site visits. That is also something you can do. So, the nice part is it's not related specifically to Excel. It is kind of like Excel, but there's a lot of additional tools that you have right there built in to be able to do that and access the information. The sales information is also available. So the BI summary and the BYOR viewer, or our advanced report viewer. If you wanted to load this up and have it default to the executive scorecard every day, fantastic. You can do that. That's a setting. If you wanted to load the BI summary and then drill through and look at invoice lines for year-to-date sales, you can do that too. So we give you the ability to use the system in a capacity that makes sense to you and in a way that you can use it across the board for your reps, for your sales managers, for your branch managers, for your regional managers, for owners, and provide information that's going to be vital to what they do every day. So I know that's a lot to squeeze into a 40-minute presentation. So Kelly, at this point, I think we've put enough out there. I'd like to take some questions and jump into the Q&A session. And if anybody wants to deep dive into something, we can do that, or we can even schedule time with you offline to do that. But I think we're at that point, and I'm ready for some Q&A.
Perfect. Thanks, Ryan. Job well done. I do want to remind everyone that we will be sending the recording of this webinar out via email, so be on the lookout for that in your inbox. You must have did a really good job presenting, Ryan. No questions or answers so far. Do you have anything else you want to include?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple reminders. Number one, if you've got questions, we encourage you to take a look at the website. We do have customer testimonial videos out there. Folks that are using Tour de Force currently, that have been using Tour de Force for a long time. Some new customer testimonials as well. Other details on the website, other webinars, other different specific topics you might be interested in. Those are things that we'd encourage you to take a look at. Myself and our Director of Sales will both be at the Epicor Eclipse User Group Conference, as well as the P21 User Group Conference coming up. So if you are going to be there, you're an Epicor customer, we are going to be at those conferences in September. And other than that, I want to say thanks to everybody that joined us today. If you do have questions, again, if you can't find the answers on our website, please let us know. Chat with us, jump on a webinar, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to answer questions about the software, or about life in general. So if you've got questions about how your sales funnel could get better, give us a call. Maybe there's something we can do to help you. So that's about all I've got, Kelly. We'll give everybody a few minutes back in their day if there's no questions.
Absolutely, no questions. I want to thank everyone again for joining us today and spending their afternoon with us. Please remember, a recording of the webinar will be going out, so be on the lookout for your inbox. And thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.